Chapter 1. The Snow and the Flame. The snow fell quietly over the mountain village of Lanxi, covering the roofs and barren trees in a pale shroud. Beneath a silver moon, two boys danced with wooden swords, their breath visible in the cold air. They were brothers, Zhang Feng, the elder, calm and composed, and Jiang Lei, fierce and fiery like the wind that howled through the narrow valley. Their home was modest, built beside a winding stream that froze in the winter. Smoke curled from the chimney, and the sound of steel striking steel echoed from their father's forge. The village was small, perhaps 50 families, but it pulsed with life. Traders passed through on the mountain road, storytellers visited during festivals, and lanterns lit up the river each new year. Jiang Lei would run along the river bank, chasing the light, while Feng watched in quiet amusement. Their father, Zhang Mu, had once been a soldier in the army of the Celestial Court. His body bore scars like stories etched into flesh. After retiring, he became a blacksmith, known for his honesty and fine blades. He raised his sons with warmth and discipline. Mornings began with sword forms, afternoons with work in the forge, and evenings with tales of the Zhang clan's distant warrior heritage. Zhang Mu's teaching was never just physical, it was moral, philosophical. Strength without purpose, he said, is like a blade without a hilt, dangerous even to the one who holds it. Their mother had died when they were too young to remember her face. All they had was a faded painting on silk, hanging in the shrine room. Their father would kneel before it every evening, offering incense with solemn silence. Sometimes Zhang Feng would sit beside him, silently imitating the act while Lei stood in the doorway, curious but distant. "Your mother believed in peace," Zhang Mu would say, "but sometimes to protect peace, one must know the way of the sword." Zhang Feng took his father's words to heart. He was quiet, thoughtful, and graceful with a blade. Zhang Lei, on the other hand, burned with wild energy. He climbed trees, challenged older boys to races, and often got into trouble. But he loved his brother fiercely and followed him like a shadow. One winter, when the snow had not stopped for 5 days, Zhang Mu told a new tale of the temple of clear sky where monks lived in harmony with heaven and earth. They were said to train both body and spirit, cultivating inner peace and martial mastery. That night, both boys dreamed of mountain peaks and flowing robes. Zhang Feng imagined standing in the clouds, sword pointed to the horizon. Jiang Lei dreamed of dueling dragons with fire in his hands. But fate is a blade that cuts swift and deep. Chapter 2. Blood on the Snow. It began with smoke. At dawn, the sky was already ash-gray. The boys awoke to the sound of screams. Bandits had come to Lanxi. Ruthless men with crude weapons and hunger in their eyes. Houses were set alight, livestock stolen, and those who resisted were cut down. Zhang Mu fought like a man possessed. His old blade cleaved through foes, but they were too many. He bought time for his sons to escape. Feng pulled Lei into the woods, the smaller boy sobbing. They tripped over roots and ducked behind trees. The heat from the burning homes reached the edge of the woods, and the air was filled with the stench of smoke and blood. From the tree line, they watched the forge collapse in fire. Then the bandits spotted them. They ran through the forest, across the frozen creek, over slippery rocks. Arrows whistled past. Lei fell. Feng turned to shield him. He swung a broken branch in desperation. A blow to the head. Darkness. When Feng awoke, it was alone. Snow covered the ground where he had fallen. Of Lei, there was no trace. Chapter 3. The Monks of Suyao. When Zhang Feng awoke again, it was to silence and the scent of pine. Master Yuantong, abbot of the Temple of Clear Sky, had found him near death. He welcomed the orphan into their order. But Jiang Lei was gone. So began Feng's new life. It was quiet, structured, disciplined. He rose before dawn, meditated in the hall of reflection, and trained until his body ached. He learned sword forms, breathing techniques, and inner cultivation. He learned to read the Book of Flowing Principles and converse in the tongue of the old sages. The monks were kind, but distant. Feng became known for his discipline and diligence. Over time, he became one of the temple's brightest disciples. But each night, he sat beneath the stars, whispering a name, Lei. In the courtyard where plum trees bloomed, Feng would sometimes imagine Lei laughing beneath their petals. He would close his eyes and see the two of them racing through the village, wooden swords clashing, snow flying. But those were only memories. Chapter 4. The Pit of Thorns. Zhang Lei's fate was darker. Captured by bandits, sold to slavers, he ended up in the fighting pits of Zilong, a city of excess and cruelty. He was thrown into a world where strength meant survival and weakness meant death. He learned pain. He learned rage, and he learned to kill. Years passed. His body hardened, his heart colder. He fought beasts, criminals, other slaves. He survived every match until whispers of his brutality reached the ears of a shadowy sect known as the Crimson Serpent. They plucked him from the pits, seeing potential in his fury. They promised strength, revenge, freedom. They gave him a new name, Ghost Fang. Under their guidance, Lei learned forbidden arts. He honed his rage into precision. He became a whisper in the night, a blade in the dark. But somewhere in his heart, buried beneath scars, was the memory of snow and laughter. Chapter 5. Shadows Beneath the Moon. 10 years passed. Zhang Feng had become a pillar of the Temple of Clear Sky, now clad in white robes with silver trim, a sword at his back that shimmered like moonlight. His gaze was calm, serene, yet carried a sorrow few could name. He was often sent on missions to resolve disputes, fend off bandits, or guard caravans through the mountains. On one such journey to escort a diplomatic envoy, Feng arrived in the capital city of Baihua. There, beneath the pale glow of lanterns during a lantern festival, he glimpsed a figure cloaked in black watching him from the crowd. The aura was familiar, violent, yet cold. The man vanished as quickly as he had appeared, but a scar in Feng's heart stirred. That night, as fireworks painted the sky, Feng knelt before his sword and meditated. In his mind, the face of his younger brother appeared once more, and a whisper echoed in his soul. He is alive. He began to ask questions, discreetly at first, then more boldly. A name kept surfacing. Ghost Fang, the Crimson Serpent's deadliest assassin. A man said to be more shadow than flesh. Feng's hands trembled. Could Lei truly have survived? Could he have become this? Chapter 6. Crimson Reunion. Far to the south, in the poison marshes where the Crimson Serpent sect trained its disciples in cruel silence, Zhang Lei stood before his master. The sect leader, known only as Elder Yama, had summoned him for a special mission. "There is a monk interfering with our network in the mountain provinces," Yama said, stroking his serpent-headed staff. "His name is Jiang Feng." Lei's blood froze. He had heard the name before, as if in a dream. He had buried it long ago, or tried to. But now, spoken aloud, it cracked the walls he'd built around his heart. "That name," he murmured. "Say it again." Jiang Feng, a high disciple of the Clear Sky Temple. Lei didn't respond. Not immediately. A storm was raging behind his eyes. "Do you want me to kill him?" he asked, voice steady but hoarse. Yama smiled thinly. "Kill or spare. That choice, Ghost Fang, is yours." Lei left the chamber in silence. That night he stared at his reflection in the water, a man with silver streaks in his hair and cold in his eyes. And behind that, a child running through the snow, chasing a paper lantern. Chapter 7. Clash of Blood and Spirit. They met in the mountain pass of Feilong Gorge. Zhang Feng stood upon a bridge of stone, white robes fluttering in the wind. Across from him stood a man in black armor, his face half covered, twin sabers at his sides. For a long time, neither spoke. Then Feng said, "Lei." The assassin's eyes flickered. A muscle twitched in his jaw. "You're 10 years too late, brother," Lei said. "I never stopped looking." "You didn't look hard enough." "I thought you were dead." "So did I." Their swords clashed like thunder. Wind howled through the gorge as metal met metal. They moved like mirrored shadows, each knowing the other's style, each anticipating every strike. But Lei had changed. His moves were wilder, faster, like a storm without center. Feng fought defensively, deflecting rather than wounding. "You could have been anything," Feng said through gritted teeth. "Why this path?" "Because no one saved me," Lei roared, unleashing a flurry that forced Feng to the edge. "Because I learned what mercy gets you, chains and blood. I'll save you now. I don't need saving." They fought until their bodies bled and their spirits burned, until their swords locked and they stood inches apart, panting, glaring. Then Feng dropped his sword. Lei froze. "I won't raise a blade against you again," Feng said. "If you want to kill me, strike." Lei's hand trembled. I should," he whispered. "But I can't." Chapter 8. Brothers Again. They sat by a fire that night, silent at first. Then the stories began, of monks and masters, of pit fights and poison, of snow-covered memories and fading dreams. Feng offered Lei his place at the temple. "Come with me. Start again." But Lei shook his head. "There's blood on my hands, Feng. I'm no monk. I'm no brother worthy of your path. You're my brother. That's all that matters." Lei looked at the stars, then at the mountains. "One day," he said, "when the blood stops screaming in my ears, I'll try." And with that, he disappeared into the dawn. Chapter 9. Echoes in the Wind. Years later, Zhang Feng stood at the temple gates as a figure approached, cloaked, travel-worn, but familiar. Lei had returned. He knelt. "Teach me." Feng reached down, eyes shining. And so, beneath the falling plum blossoms, the two brothers stood side by side once more, blades sheathed, hearts open, ready to walk a new path together.